Hi there. Today I'm talking to Bruce Levitt and Fraser Gibson, both from Levitt Safety in Canada. Levitt is one of Canada's largest specialty distributors of safety products. So let's join them for a detailed review of their experiences with SPE 4 years in. Thank you for agreeing to do this. I wanted this to be a pretty relaxed chat just about the experiences over, I think we worked together for almost 4 years.
Close to it.
Yeah.
I was thinking 2 years, but I was talking to Alina last night and she corrected me. She said no, closer to 4 years.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Well, yeah, yeah. So before we get started, it's always good to start with the highlights. So if there was a highlight, what would it be?
To me, the highlight was providing us focus and direction to take an initiative that we'd had brewing for a significant amount of time and actually start to turn it into reality.
Yeah, and in terms of results, are there any results that you would be comfortable talking about?
Frankly, I think it's a little hard. We didn't do a good job of tracking before and after. Probably the most positive result that I would say is in Ontario, which is the biggest region in Canada, which got on board the most with the program. We did significantly shrink our field sales force while building up the inside sales team. And contrary to what some might have predicted, we never saw a drop of any kind in our sales, and they've been growing since then.
Yeah, I think that's a great outcome, and I think on top of that, you probably have a model that's more scalable.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
from my perspective, the best thing that came out of it was connecting our marketing department to our sales group so that we actually have the generation of opportunities coming through a person that's working in our marketing group, and we have a mechanism for doing that we completely didn't have before. There was pretty much a disconnect between those two parts of our business. They were working independently, and now there's a much greater alignment between those functions in our organization.
Okay, great. You know what? I don't think we need to go back and start this interview officially because I think what we just had to say there at the beginning was set the scene nicely for the conversation that we're going to have.
Okay.
So if we wind the clock back, what was the situation prior to engaging with us, and what prompted you to? I know that there was discussion of the team-based selling prior to ballistics, but what were things like 4 years before or 4 years ago?
If I were to wind the clock back, we've been in, to a certain degree, we've been in the inside sales business for probably 10 years or a little bit more than that, with an inside sales group in Ontario who operated in, I'll call it, the traditional format that many companies in our industry have adopted, where they have their clients, they do business their way, and it was the classic tiering of accounts that you had. House accounts that dealt with customer service, you had small to mid-sized accounts that dealt with inside sales, and field sales was supposed to be dealing with the biggest opportunities. And as we were going through our last strategic planning processes, one of the things we were talking about is, how do we improve our sales process? How do we link marketing into that sales process? And at a senior management level, we were looking at a concept we called team-based selling, which basically involved tearing down the walls we built between the people dealing with customer service, the people dealing with inside sales, the people dealing with field sales, and try to recognize that even relatively small customers can have big opportunities deserving of field sales support, and very large customers often are overserved or served in a way that they don't like by a field sales team because they're busy and a lot of their ordering is repeat, and the field salespeople feel a need to touch that customer just because
Yes.
they give me a lot of business, so I need to go see them every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks, whether they want to see me or not.
Yeah.
So
Preemptive sales strikes.
exactly. So our head was in the space of how do we make more efficient use of our field resources, scale up our inside sales group, incorporate marketing into this whole mix, and by fortuitous, clever marketing on your part, we came across one of your YouTube videos, which I passed along to one of our sales managers who was in charge of a group looking at how to implement team-based selling, and we came to the conclusion that it probably made sense to talk more to you. And a lot of what you were talking about made sense in terms of where we were trying to go as an organization.
And I think the main benefit that we got at that point was that you had managed to articulate what it was that the team was trying to say, and gave us a way of communicating to people better what the concept was, and to give some kind of framework around it that the team that was working on how to actually deploy this had been struggling a little bit on how it would be communicated and how it would be rolled out across the organization. And so it very much resonated with what we were doing.
Okay, so if I think back, we ran a 2-day workshop, and if I think back to the model that we designed in the workshop, from memory, there was a strong customer service team. Then there was an inside sales team supported by promotions. That was the sort of linear flow that you talked about before, Fraser, and we can come back and revisit that. And then there were field specialists in the field to whom tasks were pushed by the inside sales team. And then there was a dedicated business development function to pursue enterprise opportunities. So that was the vision 4 years ago. How far did we get?
We've progressed as an organization. You might say that we are somewhat conservative, slow to change. So it's taken us 4 years, but we've now got in place all aspects of that, at least partially applied through the organization. The last piece of the puzzle, so to speak, was the business development role, the business development champion, which we implemented in the fall of last year. So we've now, through our marketing group, we're now pushing out campaigns which start with our inside sales team. They're proactively calling on the customers, and their mandate is to try and prosecute the opportunity to closure. And where they can do it on their own, that's fantastic, good for them. From time to time, it may require the assistance of the field sales group to go in to demonstrate a product, to actually see the working environment, or sometimes just to get a deal closed.
Excellent. And Fraser, maybe you can walk. I know that the process that connects marketing and sales is important to you, and certainly it's been a lot of work to get it together. And as the champion of the CRM implementation, I guess it's a great win there, because it wouldn't be possible without technology. For the viewers who aren't familiar with how the process works, do you want to kind of step us through it?
Okay, so we have a CRM package, a customer relationship management package, that has all of the contacts and accounts that we work with. And we have a person that is our promotions coordinator, who is working in conjunction with the salespeople and the sales management people to determine, well, what are the kinds of campaigns that we wish to deploy in our organization? What kind of communication do we want to have with our customers? And they take that information and develop a means of reaching out to the customer. And typically, we would launch an email to the associated contacts that would be, best ready for the message that we're talking about, based on role or function or some element that we would know about the contact and their particular industry. And we would launch that email with and at the same time, that would be creating an opportunity in our CRM, which would be spooled up for the appropriate inside salesperson to engage with the customer by phone, to follow up on that initiated campaign and determine, is there some interest there, and to determine what kind of conversation that they can have, and then deploy a field person if necessary. And then the CRM is what we use to manage all of the activities that are associated with that. So every phone call, every email, everything they do is launched through the CRM, which gives us visibility in the kind of activity, gives us the ability to determine what the take-up rate is by the customer for various campaigns, so we can identify what are successful, which ones are more successful than others, and we are able to fine-tune that process over time to make sure that we're adding the right kind of value to the customer, and we're having the right type of conversations.
And what's an example of a campaign that has been deemed successful?
So a big part of our business is, in addition to product supply, we do a lot of service work, and it's when we get into that realm that we are able to really identify some good value for the customer. Reach out to them with an opportunity to consolidate some of their service requirements, to provide a service in ways that they may not have previously understood. We can provide a mobile service for fall protection that they hadn't previously known was possible, and those kind of things. So we can actually reach a wide variety of people and get the message out in a way that's much better than what we did before, working primarily through our field salespeople.
Your viewers might be interested. Most people think of a CRM tool as a data and contact management system to be used by a sales team in a sales organization. And I think our earliest win, and probably in some respects our biggest success in terms of CRM, hasn't actually been with the sales group. With your encouragement, we rolled it out very early to our customer service team. And when you think about it, the stereotypical salespeople loathe paperwork. The typical customer service people thrive on detail and paperwork and capturing information. So we actually had very good success rolling the CRM system out to our customer service group and used it for a number of purposes. One of them was collecting the data of inbound calls and what people are calling about. Another one is we conduct daily what we call WIP meetings with our customer service group. And rather than what they did in the past, where they would write down requests on pieces of paper that ended up all over the place, that all got entered into the CRM system. So we now have visibility of how long it's taking us to respond to what we call cases. So how long is it taking to get a quote back to a customer? How long is it taking to respond to an issue or a concern? And during our WIP meetings, we can look at anything that seems to be taking longer than it should. And if one particular member of the team is getting inundated with work, it becomes visible really quickly and other people can jump in and help them.
So that leads me to an interesting question. I'm going to come back and ask about campaigns a little more in a second, but so you've moved a significant proportion of your selling activity inside, and you've maintained, if not slightly improved, sales. Is there any evidence that that's been at the expense of customer service quality?
No, I think if anything, it's the opposite, and we don't have the hard data to prove, the hard customer survey data to prove it. But if we look at our own ability to turn around and get information to customers, what gets measured gets done, and in the past we never measured it. So people could be waiting, and anecdotally we know there were times they were waiting for weeks to get a response from us, and now if something hasn't been responded to in 24 hours, we're starting to raise the flag, and if it's more than a couple of days, everybody piles in to help out.
One of the things that was a key focus for us coming out of our last strategy was that when we did that planning and came up with our strategic plan, we wanted to find more ways of engaging with our customer that worked better on their terms. And I believe we've been successful in that the service that we're providing the customer, now that we are more top of mind to a number of customers, that we have been touching them in many different ways that we hadn't been doing before, so that they are aware of the things that we're able to do more often. And so we're getting a lot of business that is coming to us, that reactive flow that's making its way through our customer service group or through our inside sales group, based on us being better known by the customer, because we have managed to connect with them on a better level and more strategically connected our capabilities with their operations, so that they know to reach out when they have a need for the kind of things that we do. So I would say that the customer experience from that standpoint is superior, in that they now have a trusted voice on our side. They can reach out to assist them when they have the various operational challenges that they have in the safety realm.
Yeah, good. So let's focus on a challenge. I know that one of the challenges was that you converted a team of ostensibly customer service people into inside salespeople, and you would assume that if they were operating in an environment where campaigns were created in advance for them, and where opportunities appeared in CRM for them as if by magic, that they would be delighted and leap all over those sales opportunities. What was the reality?
I think I need to correct you a little bit on that. We didn't take customer service people and turn them into inside salespeople. Frankly, I think that would be a complete disaster, because the DNA of an inside salesperson is completely different from the DNA that you want to have in a salesperson, and in particular in an inside salesperson.
That's true.
So I don't think we've taken a single customer service person and made them inside sales. What we did do was take some of our field salespeople and add them to the bench strength of the inside sales team that we had.
Aha.
And the other thing was that our inside sales team before, they were essentially operating, described them before as a field salesperson without a car. So they had the same functional methodology that our field salespeople did. They just didn't drive around. And so they were having to find their own contacts and opportunities, and be out just trolling the marketplace, trying to find ways of dealing with that. What we were able to do was to give them that structure you were talking about, is to give them a feed of opportunities into the queue for them, so that they would always have something to talk about with their customers and to initiate those conversations.
But it took us a while to get that process working as smoothly as we would like it to work. Do you want to touch on some of the challenges?
I'll maybe start, and then Fraser can take on from there. I think the first one is, I'll call it a natural part of change management, that as an organization, our sales process had been extremely unstructured. The only structure was, for the field salespeople, here's a list of accounts you call on. What you choose to do is your own business. It would be kind of nice if at the end of the year you generated sales that reached your quota. And the inside group operated much the same way. They just had a bigger list of accounts, and we weren't tracking and certainly weren't enforcing anything in terms of, here's who you need to be speaking with, here's what you need to be talking about, here's the number of calls you need to be making a day. So we went from a completely unstructured, cross your fingers sales environment to one where we were beginning to impose some discipline, in the past, Bruce would every once in a while say, it would be really nice if you guys would go out and promote X. And typically the response would be crickets. So I'd have no idea whether they were actually doing it or not. And more often than not, I suspect there was a lot of lip service, and then back to doing what we're comfortable with. So we were getting people out of their comfort zones by, particularly with the inside sales group, starting to measure activities and report back on activities, and starting to direct them in terms of, through the campaign process, we're not only telling them who to call, but how to start the conversation. And initially, it took a while for people to get comfortable with that thought process. And frankly, one of our interesting ahas was we started, and I don't know how typical our business is, but we started with the premise that if we do a campaign for earplugs, we should expect to see a jump in sales on the earplugs that we're promoting. And we never saw that. But what we did see was, if we had a campaign on earplugs, it would become a conversation starter, and our people would sometimes generate interest in earplugs, sometimes it would generate interest in noise measuring equipment, sometimes it would generate, well, I'm not interested in earplugs, but I do have an issue with respiratory protection. Sometimes it would generate nothing, but 2 days later they would get an email or a phone call back. So it was helping to tie us together with the customer and get us closer to what we really want, which is to be top of mind, so that as the customer has a need, they come to us.
Yeah, it was challenging there because in the first instance, we wanted to sell the idea of campaigns, but then I think we oversold it because we had a situation, as you mentioned there, where people would get on the phone and make a sale, but there was actually a point where they were closing the original opportunity as lost and creating a new opportunity and winning it. And it took us a while to figure out what was going wrong. And it was hard from the marketing side too. I mean, we had to bring both into alignment, and it was tough to get sales in alignment with marketing, but there were also challenges around getting marketing in alignment with sales.
Yep.
And probably one of the other big issues that we encountered was the sales management side, that the manager that manages a sales team that is mostly mobile works in a different fashion than a sales manager whose team is mostly stationary. And so if the salesperson is typically at a desk with a headset on, it's a different mechanism that you probably need to do to manage that and coach that salesperson than if they are out in front of the face to face in front of the customer and spending a lot of time in their car. So that has been one of the struggles that we've had to work with, is to get our organization, able to provide the right kind of coaching and support for the inside salespeople, because it wasn't something that was a natural skill set that we had in our existing sales management team. So that's an issue that we are still addressing today.
So to get more concrete, I know that there were three concepts that I remember Alina jumping up and down about, and I think you guys may have even flown her out to Hawaii or somewhere to just to talk about these concepts. One is protected calling times, the other is whijacking, and the third is role playing.
Right.
So we have implemented all three of those. We bought big foam hand thingies for our people to put up, although now they seem to be up all day long, that were designed to ward other internal people away from our sales team. And we wanted them to have an hour and a half of pure calling time to just bang out a whole bunch of calls, because otherwise there's so much that can distract an inside salesperson in terms of responding to emails, responding to internal messages, responding to people who walk over to their desk, and going off for a coffee and whatever else. So we wanted to get them into the zone and focused, and that seems to have worked well for us, to have both a morning and an afternoon protected calling time. We also implemented whijacking as part of our process, which means that the salesman, we had a sales manager who was very good with his field sales team, and when we gave him the inside group, he kind of tried to manage them a little bit like his field team, but I think without the attention that the field team got. And what we ended up doing was bringing in a new sales manager whose background has been in inside sales, and rather than sticking him in an office where the previous manager had been, he's in the pit with the rest of the inside sales group. So he's hearing everything that's going on, he's seeing everything that's going on, he's available for quick chats. And what he actually does is once or twice a month, he will spend an entire day in the same way that a traditional sales manager would go out and make field sales calls for an entire day with a rep. Our new manager sits down at the desk with the inside rep and spends the entire day with them, watching them, coaching them, mostly listening to what they're doing, and then at the end of the day provides feedback on what he's seen. And then what was the third one?
Role playing.
And role playing is something that we now implement as a standard part of when we do sales training. And I think we're less than perfect at it, to be honest. I believe role playing is critically important to internalize the learning. But what I'm also starting to realize is you don't want the blind leading the blind. So initially we would do a training session, and then we would invite a couple of people in the audience to role play based on what they learned. And frankly, it often was pretty poor, although they'd get a nice ovation at the end of it. So what I try to do now is at the end have the person who's actually doing the training do the role play first, so that they can actually see how the training translates into a sales call from somebody who knows what they're talking about. And then after that, you could invite the audience to take part. But in our experience, if you just get the people who are listening, unless you have the kind of organization that is brutally honest and is prepared to boo a poor effort, which we haven't quite managed that culture yet, which is both good and bad. It doesn't get treated with the seriousness that it should.
Great. So you have, all the elements in, pretty much, I think, all of the elements in place. There's a requirement for fine tuning, but there's always a requirement for fine tuning. Where do you go from here? You suggested you were I suggested you were in a better position to grow. Do you agree with that? And how do you grow from here?
Absolutely, we're in a better position to grow. And as I look to us going forward, my expectation in the next 3, 5, 10 years is we will have relatively low or no growth in our field sales group. And as we grow the business, disproportionately the growth will be adding inside sales resources. And there's probably going to be some areas where we'll look at shrinking the field group and adding more inside sales. And for us, that's proving to be a model that we can say from an output standpoint is at least as effective, gives us more control, and is slightly lower cost. And our objective in this process, and we're trying to treat inside sales and field sales as two career streams that are somewhat interchangeable, but not start off as a rookie in inside sales and your dream is you get to go into field sales. There will likely be natural migration as some field sellers grow tired of the grind of being on the road and want to have more of a, call it 9-to-5 job. Inside sales might become appealing for them. For some inside salespeople, they may at some stage want to try the field, but we don't want them to feel that they're making the change because I can make more money doing the other one. To us, they're both extremely valuable, important parts of the business, and you should have an opportunity to be a highly paid, high-performing inside salesperson or a highly paid, high-performing field salesperson.
Yeah, terrific. But I'll mention this at the beginning of the interview, just so people understand. But do you want to explain where Levitt sits in the Canadian safety market?
Levitt Safety's been around since 1935, and we've got 16 locations and a little over 300 people across Canada. So that would make us the largest specialty safety fire protection company in the country. There's some, we tend to compete against very large MRO organizations that most people are familiar with, like Granger and Wesco, who handle multiple lines, including safety. And then there's some people who focus entirely on the the fire world, and a lot of them are very involved in installing sprinklers in new buildings and fire alarms in new buildings, which is a very small part of our business. And then there are any number of, hundreds of small to mid-sized, generally local or regional safety specialty companies such as ourselves. So we're sort of at the top end of the safety specialists who enjoy part of the market and find ourselves continually under attack from the everybody else in the industrial supply space who's decided that safety is an attractive market to get into.
So, Fraser, one question for you before we finish. Your role, if I'm correct, is head of quality or change management. It's something along those lines. Do you want to clarify that?
So it's business process improvement is what my title is, and it includes strategic initiatives, change initiatives, those kind of things, as well as the quality functions in our organization.
So from that perspective, from a change management perspective, how has this journey been?
So it was interesting because as we were putting this new sales model out there, we were also test driving using a new change management process where we were deliberately addressing appropriate elements and building the right kind of team to support this. And it was an interesting journey for us to discover what are the best ways of doing that kind of a change management project. This was probably the single biggest change effort that we've been putting through our organization in my time with the company. So it was a challenge, and it was a great learning experience. And I've got a whole list of things that are on my hit list for the next one as to how we can make this even a better experience in deploying that change.
Great. Well, we loved working with you guys. Almost 4 years, I think, and I know when I'm in meetings with clients, Alina references her experience at Levitt regularly and is very proud of being a part of the Levitt journey there. So thank you so much for letting us work with you guys, and I look forward to seeing you scale up.
Yeah.
And from our standpoint, we had the pleasure of working with various members of your team, Justin. You were certainly very helpful at the, I'll call it, strategic level of getting us to get our heads around what we were trying to do and help to point us in the right direction. And then Alina was there to help ensure that that we stayed within the lanes of the bowling alley, so to speak, and handhold our various managers as they were implementing what we were trying to do. And then you also had your back office people do some yeoman things for us in terms of the marketing side, as well as developing some software tools for us to use. So it was a valuable experience for us.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Welcome.
Talk to you again soon.
Yeah.
Take care, Justin.
Bye-bye.
Bye.